Let's talk about, you mentioned Alice, which I think is one of the best scores that you've done for Tim Burton. Does anyone agree with that? This, with all the kind of crazy imagery in that movie, you could have really done a kind of bizarre score, but there's a real kind of nobility to that score, and it also has a sort of an influence from a concert work that you did. And I think that's really interesting because there's very few composers working now who can move back and forth between work in concerts and on film. That used to be more common with composers.
Well, Tim and Alice, he did want it to be, as he kept saying, grounded. He says, we have to keep this grounded with the music. He was very concerned. I think the weirder the movie is, the more he feels that the music has to keep it grounded. And I think, especially because it was 3D, he felt like, oh my God, if the music gets out too much, people are just, nothing will anchor them. And so, but he, as always, still leaves me a long enough leash that I can have my fun. So even when he's like nervous and concerned, which he certainly, I've never seen him more nervous in 25 years than working on Alice, because he'd never done a movie with green screen before. He's used to seeing everything on the set. And only Tim Burton would bother to build a chocolate waterfall and a chocolate river with real boats rather than doing it after the fact digitally. So for Tim, not seeing the images in the frame made him incredibly nervous, because he kept saying, I don't know what the movie is yet. Maybe the music's fine. How would I know? There's not a movie. So he was more nervous than usual, but in the end, it came out great. I was really proud of him, and I was proud of what we did together. But not the relaxed experience, let's say, that Edward Scissorhands was. And, well, leave it at that.
You have worked in a huge variety of styles, but there's a recognizable element to a lot of your music, and particularly, I think when people think of your sort of musical personality, they probably are thinking about the work that you did and have done for Tim Burton. So do you think you express a little bit more of yourself personally in your scores for Tim Burton?
Well, I mean, obviously, having done 13 films, and then the next closest competitor behind would be 3. I've had many more opportunities to express myself with Tim, and I think especially the first decade I worked with him, everything in my career was defined by every movie he did, because first I was the comedy guy, then came Beetlejuice, and then I became the quirky guy, and then after Batman, it's like, well, we can do big films too. Then after Edward Scissorhands, well, we can give him a romance too. So it's like every one of his films was allowing more doors to open for me. So he was allowing me access to everything, which is all I ever wanted, because I really didn't want to be the comedy guy or just the quirky guy forever. I can't bear doing just one thing. Tim has allowed me to move around quite a bit, and I'm grateful that between Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Big Fish, and there's been quite a bit of ground I've been able to cover with him. But he's also, just in terms of my entire career, allowed me the access to write in a way that would open up more doors for me and allow me to do what I needed to do, which is hopefully get to the point where I could write any kind of score. That's what I wanted when I started.
Does anyone in the audience have questions for Tim Burton?
Not Tim Burton. I can't answer for Tim.
There's a mad rush to the microphone.
I have 2 questions for you. Well, actually,
Who are you?
Yes, I do. I feel like the Inquisitor out there, Christopher Lee and Sleepy Hollow.
You are at the front of the line.
There's a nice microphone right over there for you.
Well, why don't we listen? She was daring.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Let's let her ask
No, we actually have her ask on the microphone though, so everybody can hear the question.
Good plan.
Take her away.
Take her to Detroit.
The rat.
I apologize for being daring, and my first question for you is, do you hear music in your head?
Yes, unfortunately, all the time. No, seriously. I hear music all the time in a way that isn't healthy. Because, and if there's music playing in the room, I can't not be aware of it. It's weird, like I can't function in restaurants or bars because I can't tune out whatever's playing. And I get loops in my head all the time. Sometimes it's what I'm working on, and sometimes it's like a jingle to an advertisement. Which is another reason why I try not to watch commercial television, because if I see ads, it's dangerous. Anything can get stuck in my head, and then it kind of drives me nuts.
And the second thing I wanted to tell you is that I listened to This Is Halloween to inspire a story I wrote.
Oh, well, I'm glad it inspired anything other than depression or anxiety.
A scary story, well, not really, very serious, but it inspired me.
Thank you.
We salute your daring.
And I'm glad. Project away.
Before I ask, I just want to say for the record, it's high time you get an Oscar because I think you can cheat. All the grades, John Williams and Hans Zimmer, and then some other hats for whatever reason.
Well, I'm happy not having an Oscar, but thank you for your thoughts. I probably was the only composer out there relieved not to get on stage 4 times. And there was one moment where I really got scared. It's when I'd done Men in Black, and just before they announced the names, a cameraman ran down the aisle and focused his camera right on me. And I thought, crap, did they like anything? I really started to sweat, and when the full Monty won, I just was really relieved.
So, I really liked it, how you did the theme for The Simpsons, and how come Hans Zimmer was chosen over you for the musical role for The Simpsons movie?
Well, 2 reasons. I mean, one, I wasn't really interested. Believe it or not, I don't really like doing kind of that type of fun. I know that kind of music is really fun, but I've done it a lot. And it's what I call mock music, because you're mock scary and mock serious and mock dramatic. And it's really fun to listen to, but it's not all that fun to do. And secondly, I think he had a long-standing relationship with Jim Brooks. And he called me before he did it, and I gave him my blessing. And I was actually happy that he was doing it. And I was probably content to be doing some weird, depressing little film somewhere, and was happy doing it. So it all worked out fine.